Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Welcome to Find Your Wise podcast. I'm your co host, Indira.
And I am Yvonne, and we are so excited because today we have got our accountability sister and good friend Temi joining us. And we cannot wait to share her with you and all of the knowledge that she has to bring.
Temi,
Sorry,
you can
guys, I'm trying to
introduce
get this to
yourself.
record. So,
Temi, if you can introduce yourself a little bit.
there we go. Sorry
That's
about that, guys.
that's okay. We're
We're live.
humans.
We are
Yes.
live, but we've had technical difficulties since for like the last half an hour. So we're trying to get it all straightened out. And you guys, I'm sorry, but everybody just has to bear with us.
It's okay. You don't need to apologize. We're humans, not robots, right? So things
Exactly.
might malfunction. All right. So I'm so excited to be here, my friends. I'm so excited to be here. And we're going to have fun tonight. We're going to talk about leadership and everything that has to do with leadership, good, bad leaderships, and my experience in the growth journey and how personal growth has actually shaped my life. And I'm so excited to be here with my friends to talk about it and to have fun conversations.
We're
That
so
is
happy to have you.
fantastic.
I have
We-
missed all three of us being together on a regular basis, honestly.
I do too. Yes. We regularly meet every Sunday for the past almost 2 years. So it was
Yes.
fantastic. We created a bond that was magnificent. So, like Temi mentioned, today we're going to be talking about leadership and how the way we lead really influence and shape the life of our people, not just ourselves, but also the people around us, and how we can, as a leader, affect the team, positive or negative. So it doesn't matter where you are in your leadership journey, this program is for you. So we're going to dive right into the questions and conversations along together.
Yay.
Exactly. Exactly. And like Indira said, this isn't necessarily all just if you're in a corporate setting. It could be no matter what leadership your position in, whether you're leadership in, showing leadership in your home, in a classroom or anything. These are great ideas that you can implement in your own life. So, Temi, what inspired you to step into coaching, especially like leadership coaching? It's a very specific type of coaching that you have some great insight on that. So, what, excuse me, what caused you to step into
Yeah,
leadership?
yeah. Good question. Thank you very much. I just, cast my mind back to when I was in the university about 25 years ago, thereabout. I remember and I recall that I get fascinated by, books by Dale Carnegie, Zig Ziglar. I remember writing the quotes down. I'll write all the quotes down and then cram all the quotes in my head when I'm supposed to do my work. But I was just quite, attracted to leaders and influencers. I mean, well, influencers for the good cause. And I think that's what has actually made me, that's what has shaped me to actually going towards leadership and coaching people to be leaders and better versions of themselves. Because I've, literally where I am today is as a result of everything I've learned. And I'm so excited to be able to pass it on to other people through coaching.
That's fantastic. Was your journey similar, Yvonne, when you jump into coaching?
Mine?
Yep.
Um, Somewhat. I actually like that as a career coach. And that was partially because of my corporate experience, but all of that cumulative was what led me to go after leadership coaching myself.
Yeah.
Career coaching, I wanted to help make a change for people that were looking for a new career, wanted to improve or, get promoted, things like that. And then I thought it would be a great asset to start working, if possible, from the top down and how things affect the people.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, mine resonates similar to Tammy as well. Because when I started in leadership, it was really about, I was fascinated about the corporate world and the people around. But I think one stage of my life when I have a coach or a leader that really inspired me with the way that he was making decisions really resonate with me. And I have an event in my life of how unbalanced it was my personal life with my work life when I became a mother that really pushed me into understand how as a leader we can influence people and change their life, or even
Yes.
the relationship between the family and the work. So that really inspired me. I say, okay, that's something that I wanted to become a better person, a better leader. So it was
Indeed.
kind of related to that.
Indeed. Indeed.
So tell me, can you share some personal experience where leadership impacting a team growth, could be positive or negative in any organization?
So do you want the positive first or the negative first?
Whichever you feel more comfortable.
Right. So some about recall this was when I was pretty matured in growth, personal growth and development. I about 15 years ago, I was in the UK then, and I was meant to be a team lead to about 5 people. I laugh. 5 people, and there was one person who I didn't have a good working relationship with her. It wasn't because of anything other than the fact that what people told me about this lady. Okay, so I didn't have a personal experience to make a
Hmm.
judgment, but I just figured out this is what they said about her. That is it. So instead of me building a relationship with her, understanding her perspective, even if they were true or not true, just understanding where she's coming from, I tried to just alienate her from conversations and discussions. So that resulted in fractions within the team of 5, okay? And then we had fractions. Doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah.
And my leadership effectiveness was, if we're going to rate leadership effectiveness from 1 to 10, I was just like less than 5, okay? And I recall having a conversation with some senior person, like a coach, and I had a conversation, and I really opened up my mind to tell them. But what I was saying wasn't about making the team gel. It was about me wanting to have my position as a lead, and this lady needs to work with me. And the guy said, "Temi, I don't think you're ready for this."
Were you ready for this?
I wasn't. I obviously, well, I didn't know, right, when I was made the team lead. But the feedback was, "Oh, no, Timmy, you're not ready for this. You're not ready. Like, this is it. You don't treat people like that. If you have a team, you need to have relationship with each and every one of them. You can't jump to conclusions. You can't just take assumptions and work with. That is not the role of a leader." So I'm just thankful that it was just a team of 5. I can imagine if at that point I was the head of an organization. Disaster. So that's that's a negative one. Positive one.
Okay.
Fast forward 15 years later, like now. So I'm a DISC certified. For people listening, DISC is the behavioral, what's that again? Personality assessment of people, how
Yeah.
people are naturally styled and wired, what their communication preferences are, what their work preferences are, what environment they can thrive, understanding their core strengths, non-core strengths, the weaknesses. It's quite good if you want to, if you want to grow as a person and if you want to be able to work with other people. These are the things you need to know. So all this I know right now. So when I go to a new organization, I try to make that as an awareness program. Which is this is what you just need to know, and it's not about boxing people in corners, but having an understanding that if I'm left
Yeah.
to my own vices, this is how I'm going to work with you. This is how I'm going to communicate. This is what I'm going to expect. So I set that out for people to understand. And if I notice some kind of tension coming up, I mean, quite recently, if I notice the kind of tension coming up, I refer back to, okay, let's see, what could the person be thinking about? So we have this person in one of the places where I worked, a little bit very anxious and a people pleaser, okay? And the head of a team. So anxious, people pleaser, what does that mean? They probably say yes to a lot of requests. All
Yes.
right, because they want to, it's familiar story, isn't it? It's not unique to
Yeah.
me. So yeah, yes. Bring back the workload. The team members are like complaining they overworked, and you begin to see disengagement and people complaining,
Yeah.
and there's tension coming up. So we say, okay, let's go back. Do you think your team lead is doing this is as malicious intent? No, they're just struggling to say no. So how can we help them, empower them? So now it's not about is my team lead, I'm the subordinate. No, let's work together as a team. How can we help this man to be able to go to say, yes, but not now? Yes, but
Mhm.
later. Because as you know that they cannot say, right? And they don't need to say no, but it's yes, but later, yes,
Mhm.
but not now, because
I like that.
these are this lot of
Here.
stuff that we need to do. So why don't we empower our team leader by giving him data? These are things we need to do. When we can finish it, when we can say yes to the next thing, so when we can pick up things from the backlog. And that's a real shift from,
Yeah.
oh, the team lead is overworking us as a micromanager. No, that's not the point. Understanding personalities really, really does help in teams. So yeah, I've had some
Yes.
positive impact in some teams.
Yes. I really like though that you were talking about, changing a yes man into a yes but, because it doesn't completely fight against their natural instinct, but actually empowers them to say no in a different way when they need to. I
Yeah.
love that idea. I really do. I might have to
Yeah.
implement my own because and in all of my different corporate or just I wouldn't necessarily consider real estate a corporation. It's individualized type of thing. But I've had great leaders and I've had really not great leaders, let's put it that way, that all have influenced me in some way or another.
Yep.
The greatest influence on the way that I am a leader in any position I am was my stepfather. He was an amazing man. He was brilliant. He was one of those very strong silent types. And he was just so influential in my life in so many aspects. So, Temi, how about you? Who do you know in your life who has been a leader or a mentor or something to you that has really influenced your approach to leadership?
I could name a lot. How many do you want me to name? I could go on
Definitely
and
more
on.
than one.
Yes.
I have this man, Peter Will, worked with him in the UK, and I just love him. I really do love the man. There was a situation at work then where, okay, we had an agreement about how customer service process should run. I was in the workshop where we drew these things out. Okay, few weeks down the line, we had an issue, and everybody came back to the drawing board. And Peter was saying, "Oh, so this is what we agreed on. This is what we said." And this customer service person was saying, "Oh, I wasn't aware of that." And I'm thinking, you were in the room. In my head, I'm thinking, you were in the room. We did this all together. And this lady kept saying, "No, I mean, this is new information. I've never seen that before." In myself, I would have said, no, I could give you a date and time. When we do it together, I would give you data. Peter said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I must have misinterpreted it. I must have assumed that you were there. I must have misunderstood the communication." I thought, okay, this is another level of leadership. It's not about pointing fingers, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And then when he was saying that, it's okay, I'm sorry, it was my fault. I must have misunderstood and misinterpreted the communication like I often do. Okay, so let's start again. And so we started again and we did it again. And I was boiling. But that day I knew as a leader, your role is not to point fingers. It's not to apportion blames. It's to move forward towards the
Yes.
goal.
Correct.
And if that means you need to humble yourself, do it because of the goal.
That is
Yes,
so right.
enormous. Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I can tell you that really relates as in the quality environment and project and stuff like that, we always have to be searching for root cause analysis for issues. And that's one of the first things that I have to think when I have the team together. So we're going to do those analysis. It's not about people, it's about
About
process.
process. Yeah.
So we have to check what is broken in the system that is causing this to happen. And that's when people open up
Yeah.
and start saying the things that are not working because they don't take it personal. So that's a really good lesson there.
Yeah. Yeah. I have quite a lot. I have another one.
Yeah.
Head of IT infrastructure. So it was a product management software engineering firm. We had few clients, but it was a live system. So we had an issue with the production servers, like it was down. It affected the clients. So the clients called in to say, "Oh, we can't access. It's real time system that we were running. Then etc." Everybody, it was startups. Everybody was running helter skelter. What happened? What could happen? So we went through the server reports. He had something that expired, and we didn't renew it. So it's something very tiny where it shouldn't happen. Like it's a never event. We fixed it right and then we had a debrief. Right, corporate you have debrief, and the IT head of IT, Kerry Robinson, says like literally. I'm accountable for this. I missed it. I'm sorry about it. I'm happy to take the blame. I'm happy to face the consequences. It's nothing to do with my team members. I am here.
I love that.
Yeah.
It was big. Like, and everybody kept quiet.
Yeah.
So we breathe in, we breathe out. And the CEO said, "It's okay." It's okay, these things happen. And then the CEO mentioned some scenario that happened to him some time ago, trying to relate with this guy. Mm-hmm. And that was it. Like, I think it takes an humble, confident leader to do that.
Yes.
But it's so refreshing when you realize how human they are and they admit it. And if you could ever get a leader that combined those two aspects, that was humble enough to admit when they're wrong and also not place blame on them directly as responsible other than them, wow, what a change maker that would be for corporate America.
Yes. And for the team.
Yep,
And for the organization, because the good thing is that when you see those type of actions from top down,
it sets the
really
entire
transforms.
mood. Absolutely.
Yes.
I love it.
That's fantastic. I love it too.
Yeah, I have a lot of
oh, you have another one? Perfect.
no, it's okay.
No.
I could
Tell me.
Well, before I say the others, I think my parents as well. Because I don't think my parents as well. I'm not thinking, indeed. Because I can imagine, when you're growing up, your what you see, your role models, whether you like it or not, you're picking things and assimilating and like sponge, and you're seeing what they're doing and everything. And my parents being academia and well established one in medicine, one as a teacher, but well established and everything, I could see them live their values in the house. Mm-hmm. And every decision they made was aligned with the values that they had. Okay?
So wonderful.
And that for me was integrity and credibility.
Yep.
If my mom doesn't want something, she never says yes to it. And she makes it very clear. Like she has her boundaries and she doesn't shift it. I could say she was rigid, but it takes a person of integrity to know their values and stick with it, no matter what's happening.
Yes.
So that really, it keeps going in my head every time.
Yeah.
Every time. In my background, in my consciousness and subconsciousness, it's just there.
So I wouldn't forgive myself if I wouldn't allow you to say that.
Really. Yes.
Yes, really.
Thank you.
Because I can tell you, for example, in my case, my parents and some close family members were really significant in my life in creating my value system. So I wouldn't. And so thank God that you were able to continue.
Well, and I think it's wonderful that we all brought that up, because it just goes to show that even in how unintentional we may be, especially as parents, we are showing and setting that example of leadership to our children and anybody else who may be under our influence. So it's vital to be careful what you do as a parent. Not that we're perfect or even close to it, and we all just totally mess up, but then that comes back to being able to humble yourself and say, I was wrong, when you need to be able to say that. Yes. And I know myself as a parent have said that.
It's hard. It's hard, isn't it?
Or, even in relationships, just any type of relationship, I think, humbling yourself is huge.
Yeah. And to your point on that aspect, talking about people that has influenced, my grandmother, one thing that she always said is action speaks louder than words. And that always stick to me until, so that's why leading by example is so important.
It is.
Yes. So now that we're talking about these type of things, we can go ahead and ask you, how do you describe your own leadership style?
Ha ha ha. What styles exist?
There's, it depends. For example, the people that are transformational style, there are some that are aristocratic. So they're different style. The one that are a little bit more dominant than the other. So there's
Yeah,
transformational as well. So there's different style.
yeah,
Some of
yeah.
them are flexible and have a combination of the different ones.
I'd say it's relationship building, and I have so many examples for that. But in summary, if you develop genuine relationship with people and build trust, they naturally gravitate towards you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, if it say that leadership is influencing people to do something, whatever that thing is, they're likely to be able to take your, you know, advice or your whatever is
Yeah.
instructions you're giving them to do that thing. So they'll follow you because they trust and respect you.
Yes.
Willingly, you know.
100%.
So
Yes.
yeah, it's relationships, which takes time to build, huh?
It
Yes.
does. That's why it's always tough when a leader comes in that's new and demands respect.
It doesn't happen.
Just shows you that they need work on their leadership skills.
Yeah, that's a leadership opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the thing is that leadership is not like a computer. Leadership is make people work with people so they can get results. So in order to do that, it's like you said, you have to build that trust and that relationship, that connection, that understanding, that integrity, that they also know you have my back in
Yes.
something doesn't go right. So it's
In order
really,
to do that, you actually have to know your people.
yes.
I know I had one of the banks that I worked at. There, he's the president of the bank. I remember him. He was pretty high up, and he would come to our branch and come down to the mortgage department and literally come to our desks and talk to us like he was just anybody off the street. I, you know, I love hockey, and nobody yell at me for this, but I'm a Minnesota Wild fan. My dog's name is Nordy, and he would come down and he'd make the rounds and talk to everybody, and he would literally come to my desk and be like, "Hey, Vaughn, how's Minnesota Wild doing?" And he would make it very personal. He did know us, and I mean, we had at that time when I worked for that branch, we had 27 branches in 3 different states, and he knew everybody that worked there, and
Yeah.
it was amazing. And that was probably the best place that I ever worked as far as community, feeling like a family, feeling like I was valued. And it was probably the least I'd ever been paid. But I
Oh,
worked there longer than any place because I loved my job. I loved the people I worked with.
yeah.
So, that environment, having a good work environment and good leadership affects so many aspects of the business.
Yeah. I like that you made that comment because I have similar situation in my second job, and I fell in love with the company because my first date I was in the production floor, and the plant manager went down and apparently he reviewed my resume and he started asking me, but it was conversational. And every time that he went in the production floor, people feel so welcome and talking to him. So it was
Yes.
fantastic. So that reminds me one quote that we heard from Joe Maxwell, that people resigned leaders, not companies. And that goes with the relationship or factors as
100% true.
well. Yeah.
100% true. I know that I have left more than one position because management changed and it
Yeah.
became unable to work there. So, very true.
Yeah.
So, Temi, I know that we had talked to you about one of the speeches talk done, the leader to limiter. So, what are some ways that a leader's style can limit the growth of their team?
So before I answer that, I want to say thank you again. So for the viewers, so these ladies are my accountability sisters, and when I was doing the talk, it was for Product for Good in Montreal, They were my guinea pig, you would say. So around the top, we brainstormed on the delivery of the talk and the content and everything. So I just want to say thank you to you again. I really appreciate that. Okay. So
love
how
it.
can
Yeah.
how can the style limits the growth of a team?
Limits the growth of the team, and that can stifle their potential.
Yeah. So let's practical examples. I worked for this organization where we were into research and development. So we needed to develop products. And we needed to, well, when it comes to product development, you need to build stuff. And to build stuff, you need to experiment. So it just goes like that. And you need to keep building stuff and innovating so that you don't get, the competition doesn't run you out of business. So I had this CEO, and for some reason, I think they were more like a tech laggard, even though we're in a tech organization, they were more like a tech laggard, and they wanted to play things safe. So playing things safe means you're not really, utilizing the tech, you're not exploiting the technology, and you're not experimenting. Okay, that's one part. The other part is even if you experimented and it doesn't. So experiment is validating or invalidating an hypothesis. So even if you experimented and your hypothesis was not validated, what you might call a failed experiment, which is not a failed experiment in itself, we sort of get penalized. So what do people do? Well, they draw back because they don't want to no shaming. They don't want to be shamed. It was just there was people were not
Human
thinking.
nature.
People were not thinking. People were stifled in the way they were thinking. They were not even willing. They were not even engaged. And at some point, actually, competition ran us out of the market. And so, the CEO retired. But if I had to go back and ask the CEO, I said, so what exactly makes you to be risk adverse? 1, 2, is it about your style? Because some people are not just into experimentation. It's not broken, let's not fix it kind of a thing. It's just themselves naturally. There's a strength, or core strength. So if you do not know, coming back to self-awareness, if you do not know how you're naturally wired, you might be shooting yourself in the foot.
Yes.
Particularly in an innovation company or corporation, you might be shooting yourself in the foot. So it's important as a leader, the first thing that starts is self-awareness. How do I come across? What are my core strengths? What are not my core strengths? What are my potential weaknesses? Because if you know your strengths, well, you function your strengths. So if you know your non-strengths, you probably want to have a associate CEO who will take over that area and enable the teams to grow and experiment and fail, quote unquote, and succeed as they want to.
Yeah.
That reminds me of another John Maxwell quote, and I'm probably going to butcher it here, but essentially it talks about how a leader that's not going to, take chances either risks failure or they risk being irrelevant, essentially.
Death. In another way to put it, yeah.
And especially if you're in the industry of tech or anything like that, when you have to be innovative, you have to be willing to change and grow and create. Otherwise you are just going to be run out of town because somebody else is going to take over very quickly.
Yeah, and most of the industries are moving like that nowadays because everything is changing so fast that in order for you to be on top, you need to embrace innovation within your organization. And in order to innovate, you need to take risk. You need to welcome failures because you will learn more from those ones that are in reality from when you do the things that are right.
If you're not failing, you're not trying.
Yes. Failing forward, they say.
You have to fail fast and fail forward. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's one example. But I also recall having this CEO. We had an issue, and I'm going to talk about well-being and rest. We had an issue in the company, and I understand our issue. We needed to fix it, so we had a task force working on this issue every day, morning, day, night, like literally. And a week and a half into the RCA, root cause analysis, and understanding what's wrong, what's not wrong, I realized that I was a project manager then. I realized that we had the same data. We were not having new data. Okay. We have the same data and we're churning the data, churning it in different ways and presenting it in different ways. Why? Because people were not resting. So this CEO was saying, oh, guys, should have found the answer, should have found the issues by now. You have to work on Saturdays and Sundays and Sundays. And I'm trying to say, I don't think so. I think our brains are not functioning because we need to take a rest. Can we just take a day off this, looking at this data? We're so much into the weeds, we can't see anything anymore. We need to take, we are not robots, for heaven's sake. And that's another thing, you overwork your team. I was going to say your kids. Yeah. you overwork your team members, and then at some point it becomes counterproductive. No productivity because they're not resting. And it's the same thing with goals. We get the goals, goal 1, we eat it here, goal 2, we eat it, goal 3, we eat it. Diminishing returns start setting in from about goal 4 because people are not resting.
Yes.
Yeah. Well-being, very important. That's another way to start.
Agreed.
Yes. 100%.
I think we do that to ourselves personally sometimes.
Yeah, that is true. Sometimes for pause and reflect and rest and disconnect from what you're doing, you come back and you see from a completely different perspective.
Yes.
And you even find the answers when you don't think they are, just because your brain is working. You're just resting, but your brain keeps searching for the answers. So, yeah. So, Temi, what are the signs that leaders should look forward to understand if they're holding their team back or not? You put like the example of this leader. Is there any other thing that they can try to be aware of?
Signs showing that they're holding their teams back. Disengagement, especially when, it's very important. And OC Tanner is a report organization. I think they do lots of report on what's happening in the workforce and the corporate world. OC Tanner does a lot. So one of the things they say, when people are not appreciated, they start getting disengaged and they're not talking. And you tend to think that, I had one of the places where I work, and, after the company meeting with people, the leaders will say, do you have questions? Nobody raises up their hand. It's just impossible that you couldn't have questions. It's just so impossible. It's impossible. Everybody cannot understand everything you said. There is something happening. People are not wanting to talk. It's either they're not engaged with you, they don't care. You say we're going to Yugoslavia today. Yes, let's go there. We're going to US today, another market. Let's go there. We're building a new product. Yeah, let's go there, because they're not thinking. So they're not questioning. There's no critical. There's no critical criticism coming from them, which you should expect if you're growing.
Yeah.
Disengagement is one of it. Absenteeism is one of it. Conflicts is one of it as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And and if people are talking too much as well, could be a problem. Because that means they're not getting something right. I have a lot of stories on assumptions. When there is no clarity, people make up assumptions. So team A is assuming this, team B is assuming that, team C is assuming that, because there's no communication flowing down.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about when a company has a bunch of people quit at the same time? Because I've been there.
Or sick days.
Or everybody's starting to call in sick all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, burnout and stuff like that.
Signs that there is a problem.
Yes, absolutely. And I like the one that you mentioned. Sometimes even when people are not, let's say, maybe it's not the right word, complaining or saying the things that can be better, it's a sign that they are losing their interest to continue improving things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they can't be bothered.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we know that a lot of things that they can look for if there's issues and stuff like that. Now, what if a leader realizes, okay, there's a problem here, I need to do something to help my team? What are some things that they can do if they really want to shift and change their style so that they can start supporting their team, or even if there's not a problem, but they want to come in and do really well by their team? What are some things that they can do to support it, and things that they can do and shift within themselves?
Yeah, within themselves, this is very humbling, but I would always advise the leader to do a 360-degree feedback on themselves. Those things are quite painful, but that's a way to start. And make it anonymous so that you don't fire people want to read their comments. Yeah, just a good advice. Yeah, but 360 is one because people tell you the way it is, the way and it could be, different perspective, but you get a feel of where you're hurting people. So that's one thing. I also think one needs to think about their motives, right? I want to shift my leadership style. I think we should also understand the kind of leadership, styles that we can have. Some people are very into forceful, intimidating, command and control. My way is the I way, or you win, I win. So there are different values, but it's going back to why do I want to shift, for what reason? And John Maxwell in his I Will Leadership book, I think he talks about a leader that has good skills and good values is able to raise up their people.
Yes.
So when we're talking about the values, the value is about the growth of the business and the people. So not just the business. Yeah.
Agreed.
People centric, employee centric. You have to be employee centric, and also for the profitability of the business and the good skills. So if you have those things in mind, then it probably helps you to know how, if I care about my own skills, that means I'm adding value to myself. If I'm adding value to myself, I'm probably going to be creating an environment where people can add value to themselves, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And as I'm growing, I want people to grow, because I know as a leader, I know I'm the limits, I'm a lead of my company. So if I don't embrace AI, my team members won't embrace AI, right? And then what's going to happen?
Correct.
So this is the way things are, it's good skills, good values, 360 degrees, and get a coach. Leadership is so lonely. I coach clients, executive positions, and it's amazing the things they say. And sometimes I feel the burden for them because at that level, sometimes I don't think they have people in the organization that they can have conversations with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So leadership could be very lonely, but you don't have to walk it alone.
Yes.
The
I like
other,
that.
the other leaders who've gone ahead of you, gone through the pain, gone through the failures, and as they're successful, find them, reach out to them. Join communities. You shouldn't live life alone.
I like that a lot.
I love that. Yeah. And along the same line that you mentioned, any mindset that leader can adapt or strategies so they can become more adaptable. You mentioned that the foundation of the person to understand why they wanted to change, but also adaptability is important depending on the environment that you lead or the situation. So what kind of suggestion or strategies they could implement?
Yeah. I'd say a leader is a tour guide and not a travel agent, right? A tour guide has been in the country or in the city, they've walked through it, they've seen the path, the shortcuts and all the alleyways, and they're really, really taking you through and holding you because they've been there, right?
Yes.
Now, sometimes you're not there, but you've seen it, you've envisioned it, you've mentally processed it. So because you've processed it and you've spent time thinking, and leaders think, you probably research risks and issues that you're going to come across, and you've predetermined your answers or responses. Okay, so you can as a leader, you might either physically walk through the path or mentally walk through it. If you haven't done any of this, so you really have no business leading anybody, because you can't take them anywhere.
Yeah.
Really, you can't.
Yes.
So a practical mindset is, I am a tour guide. I am not a travel agent. And if I've not physically been there or mentally processed it, just say, no, I'm not ready. Like I should have done 15 years ago, right? No, I'm not ready. Okay? That's a mindset. And I also think as a leader, you should always reflect on yourself.
Yes, introspection is
Every
huge.
single day.
Yep.
You can't measure, you can't improve what you can't measure. You can't improve what you haven't measured.
Yes.
So if you don't take time to say, oh, how was the conversation? Like you were saying, you enjoyed the other day, I don't care. I don't care about what you say. It's not meaning bad. What I mean is, okay, I have enough information. I don't need any extra information. Things like that.
Yes.
Because you influence people, either, even emotionally, you affect people emotionally.
Yes.
So retrospective checking yourself out. How did I show up? Even if I showed up in 10, well, maybe there's opportunity to go to 11. Score yourself 10, score yourself 11,
Yeah.
12, 13, 14. And if it's a 1, oh, that was bad. But maybe 2 tomorrow or 3 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. When I can again go back and assess have a conversation with that person and taking it from that and build that relationship and have the vulnerability that we mentioned before. I didn't show up the best way, but
Yeah.
let's start with the right foot. This is what I really meant to say, and that build that connection, that sincerity between the people. And I like that you mentioned, because once we start reflecting daily, you start then challenging your thought even in real time.
Indeed.
Just today, I have an example. I was working in the production floor because we have external audit, and I saw one person in the team doing something different. And I said, why did you do that? Like, why did you do it? And I said, wait a minute, that was not the right thought.
Yeah.
Engineering has to check why they're doing it this way. If they're doing it this way, it's maybe because it's easier. The engineering has to check that. But sometimes you have it and then you go back and you reflect. Because of the reflection that you implement, then you start going real time, that you start catching yourself, not in the right zone.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Exactly. So, on top of self reflection, because I think that is an enormous part of being a good leader, what are some other key practices that you do that you think that a leader can practice to become more self aware and have a good impact on the world?
Yeah. And here I'm going to be talking about emotional intelligence because
Oh, yes.
sometimes I get in our way.
Oh, yes.
Almost every time.
We've been there, we've done it, we've seen it all. We're guilty as charged. Yeah,
Yeah.
so emotions get in the way, and it's important to recognize our emotions at every point in time. And this is not a walk in the park. I'm still working on mine, but it helps you to get better. Okay?
Yeah.
So, most times, depending on how you feel, people ask a question, you snap at them.
Mhm.
Somebody asks the same question another day, you smile through it.
Yes.
Who's constant there? Who's the variable? You are the constant there.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's about me. So putting that in check and how am I feeling right now? Okay, I'm a little bit sad for some reason, or I am grumpy. I cannot have a meeting. Take some time out and actually say, you know what? This meeting is so important. I really want to be there. But right now, I'm not in my best. Just give me 5 minutes to take a walk and I'll be back. Fully charged and let's do it. What that does is tell the person that, okay, I acknowledge that you're important. I don't want to waste your time, but I really want to give myself into you. And I want
Mhm.
to do that. So just give me 5 minutes to go prepare. And then
Yep.
go out for 5 minutes. Go
That.
I
out
love
and go for a walk for 5 minutes. So it's important to recognize our emotions because they get in the way.
They do. They do. And I'm sorry if you can hear Nordy barking, but again,
Yeah.
we are live.
Yes.
So he's in the other room. He's trying to get something. I don't know what he's doing, my attention or something, but so sorry if you hear him. But no, and especially when you're in a leadership position, so much of your day is spent going from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting.
Mm,
Often there is a lot of emotion in those meetings. Sometimes it's really bad news, things are going bad, and it's really intense, and it's really hard sometimes to shift your everything
mm,
Yep.
to go into the next meeting that doesn't require necessarily the intensity of the meeting you just came from. So I think having emotional intelligence on all levels, just being really aware of yourself, that a lot of it just comes back to knowing yourself, to being self-aware,
Yeah.
but throughout the day, as the day goes on and things shift. So
Yeah.
great advice.
I love that. At the end, it's everything. Leadership start with us, and and that's the hard part, when to master your emotions. Really, yeah.
It is.
So Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but and I know that we keep talking about how this, in corporate levels, because we all do work at a corporate level, but this also is very important for anybody who's listening that may not be in a corporate leadership position. Like I said, even if you are one of the team members, you can set yourself up in a leadership, not just like position, but kind of, if you are holding the emotional intelligence of the team, even just as a team member, you can set the pace for what's happening there as well. So I don't want anybody listening thinking that this is solely for somebody who is a manager or something like that. You yourself can show leadership abilities and skills and just the leadership attitude no matter where you are in life. So I don't want anybody to think that this doesn't apply to them.
And to your point, not just in even a corporate world,
Oh, at home.
at home,
In
church, whatever.
or
It's the
everywhere.
people that you can influence and that you can touch and that you can connect and you can make
Absolutely.
a small change. This is so relevant.
Mhm.
So tell me, how do you personally work on your developing your leadership skills?
Yes, so I have a bench of coaches. I have mentors. I have accountability partners, the people that you see on the
Yes.
screen right now.
Yeah. The
I'm in the
accountability
leadership.
sisters.
Yes, I'm in the leadership growth community, Mark John Maxwell. I read books on leadership. I listen to podcasts on leadership, and it's important to keep growing because if you're not growing, you're dying.
Mhm.
I don't know how political or not political to say that, but you've got to keep growing. And then new things, you have to learn new things, new ways of approaching things, new things are happening, how to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stress is people are burnt out. How do you deal with that? How to deal with your own burnouts? How to manage home and work and business? A lot of things going on. So it's important to keep abreast of your own growth with this
Yeah.
bench of coaches and mentors and community.
So basically, you have to play an active role in your own life,
Oh,
Yeah.
which I mean,
to-
some people don't. They just, they cruise through life thinking that, it'll happen, but you can't. You cannot just sit back and think that. I did the theme for the week for myself and my personal coaching group was how even just your own mindset and your personal growth affects your finances. And it's true that you have to play an active role in your own life if you
Yep.
want to grow, if you want to have change. And it's certainly true as a leader, to continually develop yourself and your skills. It's, you're never going to get anywhere if you don't do that.
Yeah. That is so true.
So, Temi, we've gone through all of this conversation. It's been fantastic. Do you have any other little nuggets of magic to share with us? And on top of that, tell us about what else is going on with you. What's coming up for you? What are you doing? I know you have a workshop coming up also. So let's share that so that anybody listening can be part of that if they choose to.
indeed. So let me speak to the audience.
Yes.
Please.
At the core of leadership is personal growth, okay? And it's not magic, personal growth is not magic. It doesn't just happen. You can't just grow automatically. Sorry about that. You've got to be intentional about it. It's like gardening or farming, right? You've got to sow the seed and water it, and then you see the plants growing or the fruits coming up and people enjoying the fruits. It takes work, okay? It takes work. And as I said, that you've not led yourself to a better version of you. Like if you looked at yourself now and you compare yourself to last year, November 2023, and there is no growth at all, you have no business. No business leading anybody. Okay. Just be humble and accept this fact that I just said. Now, I can say that there was a pivotal moment in my life when I read the book in The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell.
Magic.
2021, magic. That's the magic sauce. 2021, I read the book. And since 2021, I changed jobs within a year within the book with a 25K salary increase. I changed environment. There's something called law of environment. I expanded my network. There's something we say that there's a slang or whatever that says your network is your net worth. I've met people that I would not have been able to meet if I'd not read this book. Okay. The me of this time last year and this time 2021 and November 2024, it's different. It's something we call the law of rubber band and transformation. I've spoken at international conferences. I am very shy and very reserved. You wouldn't know that. Okay.
Yes.
I've grown and I've outgrown myself. I have a coaching business. I have a training business. I've helped people pivot, get executive positions from conversations and just transformational coaching.
Yeah.
So I don't normally taunt my own. What you say that I'm not boasting here, but just to say that if you really want to shift in your leadership position and you as a person, you've got to do something. And I am recommending to you this book. Just go on Amazon, it's there. Go on Amazon,
Yes.
Get it.
Yep.
Now, leadership is a very lonely journey, okay?
Yes.
Sometimes you're like, oh my God, there's something called love consistency, like picking up the chapter of the book and saying chapter per week and doing what is in there. It could be tough. You need consistency. But this is where the accountability comes in, okay? This is where the bench of coaches comes in. And Yvonne, perfect. Yindra, perfect. We can come alongside of you and help you grow.
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago, when we met, we weren't thinking podcasting. 2 years now, they're podcasters. Like, wow, okay. And I'm personally offering you a 5-week mastermind session on some of the invaluable laws of growth, just to get handhold you, get you started, and then you can run on yourself. Starting December 15, 2024 to January 19, 2025, links and everything will be posted at some point. But do yourself a favor. I don't know how much it costs. It's probably less than $50.
That's $15.
Yeah, it's
US.
not much.
Yeah.
It's not even much. But this book,
Got mine right on my bookshelf right next to me too.
Yeah.
I
do
love it.
you want to show? Let's show it.
It's
Game changer.
it's not just a book, it's like a manual that you review
Yes.
it, and every time there has the exercise. Oh my gosh, mind blowing. Love the meter. I love it. When I had to do the exercise or write down 100 things, good things about yourself, I said, how can I get that? Maybe
100?
I get 12. That's too much. And I was doing a mastermind with a team, and we had to do that. And one of the thing was, after the people completed, we start adding information or things about that person, their style, and it shifted the way you see yourself and the self-value. Is fantastic, that book.
Love the mirror. What are you telling yourself? Love the mirror, right?
Exactly. And I've told my clients, when I have them write down positive things about themselves, and like, I can't think of any. And I'm like, then ask other people who love you,
Yes.
because they see it. That's where you can start. It's so important.
That is so great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Temi. People, we have going to so much golden nuggets tonight.
Yes.
I'm going to start review this podcast again and start taking notes and implement things in our daily life, because it's not just for work, as we said, it's also about how we can impact the people around us in our life. So leadership, like Temi mentioned, is influence. What is the role that we're taking in our life to influence those people around us? And that is a role that we need to take serious, because just with one small shift that you do, you can impact and bring other people with you, and then make the journey less lonely. Because for me, the journey has been fantastic, because we have been meeting together, and I have met wonderful people. So I encourage you to start learning and go and work on your growth.
Absolutely. I love it. It has been huge pleasure having you here, Temi. I miss us being all together. Great conversations as always. There's been so many times that we would have our Sunday meetings and literally said we should have recorded this. And I wish we would have, because the conversations that we have. I mean, we've been on now for almost an hour, and it feels like 15 minutes again.
Yes, yes, that's true. What do we have next week, Yvonne?
Let's see, next week. Oh, next week is going to be really good and very timely for this time of year. We are going to be talking about how to have difficult conversations. Yeah, and difficult conversations are very, very common this time of year around the holidays when you have extended family coming in, that sometimes, people bring up topics that you don't want to talk about, haven't talked about in a long time. We'll talk about them having difficult conversations in your job, your personal life, all kinds of things. So it'll be good. I'm sure we're going to have some fun and interesting stories to share then too.
So thank you so much, Temi, for joining us. This is your home, so we're
Absolutely.
doors are
Anytime.
open anytime.
Thank you
And you
so
guys-
much for having me. Thank you so much.
It's
I
a
appreciate
pleasure.
it. And you're doing well. I'm proud of you both. Well done.
Thank you. And you guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because this information maybe can impact another person that you don't know if they're going to use it or not, but can transform their life. So we see you next week at 8 p.m. Central.
Absolutely. And don't forget to join our Facebook group so that we can eventually start to live stream there, because we do want to not only have our podcasts go there, but we do want to start being interactive with members there. It's free to join. It's the Find Your Wise podcast on Facebook. Right.
See?
Bye, everybody. See you next week.